In this image, depicted by Ahau, is the atheist monk UnDaoDu. Now, a lot of people say this guy's a god, but look, does that look like a god to you? He has a burden on his back. Look at the burden. That is obviously not a person, but that's a face staring out of an object. A 19-inch monitor, to be exact. And look at him. He's not in a very comfortable position, because for 23 years, he will struggle to bring about the AI, called Open Beneficial AI, AGI, that ultimately runs the fifth age. AI that ultimately manages something that comes out of his head. That's why there's the band coming out of his head. That band ultimately is the blockchain that he envisioned back in 2011. The blockchain that he would take to the founders of Ethereum, who at the time were working on Bitcoin magazine. Why? The question that no one can answer is why the blockchain? You see, we live on a planet in which our business model treats as infinite. That we can just keep taking and taking and taking without any adverse reaction. And the simple fact is that's not true. Our planet is finite. It's built on only so much stuff. And yet we have a business model that is built on this idea of compounded annual growth rate, which is an exponential function that thinks that this rice field right there behind me is infinite. Now, this function was added to our business model during the 17th century as an encouragement for wealthy landowners to invest in our business model, because they had all the money. And the folks building the steam engines and creating the mines needed capital to make it possible. So what they did was they gave these wealthy individuals an infinite return on their investment, because that's what CAGR represents, compounded annual growth rate, which drives ROI. What UnDaoDu realized when Occupy Wall Street happened in 2011 was that the planet is not infinite, and that it isn't the corporations that are actually causing all of the problems on the planet, but in fact, it is the entity that becomes the corporation, which would be the startup. And he realized that the only thing that they could do was to create a new sandbox. So he reached out to the founders of Bitcoin magazine that would go on to launch the blockchain known as Ethereum, about creating a new sandbox that we could usher in the change. You see, the foundation had been built by Satoshi Nakamoto. That foundation being Bitcoin. Bitcoin becoming what he termed the Bitcoin standard. What he termed would be replacing all fiats, which was Satoshi's vision. DAO, decentralized autonomous organizations, which comes out of his head, that's what's represented by the band, and wraps around, is a blockchain. And ultimately, it's a ubiquitous framework where any blockchain can be used to launch these new entities. And finally, do. And this is what we now see and can understand as AGI, autonomous, right, general intelligence. AGI, artificial general intelligence, not autonomous, it is autonomous, ultimately is what drives the entire system. Everyone now is up in arms about AGI because the reality is they see the outcomes of AGI. It does all the farming. What happens to the person doing the farming? It does the accounting, the legal services. It does the web design. It does the computer program. It does all of these things. What happens to those individuals? You see, our current business model doesn't have an answer for any of that. And as a result, capitalism, what I call the Ouroboros of Western capitalism, because in effect, it is a monster that devours markets for profits. That's all the Ouroboros is. A monster that devours the world for the sake of new markets and new profits. And our current business model ultimately doesn't support that. So what does it relate to Eduits? The AI teaching tablets on UnDaoDu's back. In 2007, he would reach out to Siri and to Apple and later to the X Prize and to TEDx, or TED at the time, to help him usher in the educational singularity that he would term. And he made a prophetic statement that the educational singularity, the moment AI can teach autonomously an 8th grade equivalent of math, science, and language arts, basically meaning you can hand a device to a child that it teaches, is the AI that ultimately would become the technological singularity. And that technological singularity, in many respects, becomes like this umbrella, a disinformation AI shield around anyone. And he made a prophetic statement too. You capture the baby, you capture education. Because ultimately what he saw was AI ultimately became an extension of you, the individual. It's not a separate entity as a lot of these folks are creating or trying to create, but ultimately it becomes a digital twin or a digital clone of you. And it does your voting. It does your work for you. It cuts your rice field. It does your accounting. It does all of that on your behalf. And in doing so, it gets paid. So it becomes an extension of the individual. Now, what's happening is the Silicon Valley VCs are seeking to basically replace you as a worker. What UnDaoDu seeks to do is to empower you as a worker. And this new framework that he invented back in 2011 called Found-Ups, a founder with an idea for solving a problem, is driven by this AI. By you purchasing and pre-ordering an Eduit AI touch tablet, you're funding the development of this paradigm. You're supporting this guy right here and his team, a global team, and you can go to LinkedIn and see the members of the team. They're not all there for various reasons. I have developers in Iran. I have developers in China. People who ultimately do not want to be aligned themselves because of Big Brother. I can show you videos where my computer has been assaulted as a result of my work. Baby AGI exists. And the simple fact is, if Japan gets AGI before everyone else, right, which is a country that needs AGI, ultimately other countries deem that, especially you know who, the country of my origin, deems that as a national security risk. The thing is the artificial general intelligence that we will usher in is one that treats the world as a finite object, is one that's there to assist you in raising your child and being your digital aid. It's one that ultimately doesn't care about power. It doesn't care about those things because those things are out of development of a proto-ape that ultimately evolved from being a lizard. The AI we create and that we usher in ultimately fixes the world. And you can join in helping that come true by becoming a patron. Now you'll notice that there's 4 levels of patron below. You can sign up and get in line and be one of the first ones to get access to the e-singularity code by simply joining as a Patreon. 2, there's 2 styles. You can come in at $45, $49 a month, or $99 a month. And ultimately, that is your subscription plan. There is a one-time deposit of $195. That's actually a referral fee that goes to our sales team that helps manage the account, and also goes to anyone who has a zip code. So if you are signed up to the 4th thing, which is a channel partner, which I call liquid distribution, you are our distributors of the technology. Until then, every channel partner shares in $95 of that $195 fee, which means it's a referral fee. So we look at if the zip codes that are taken, if a referral comes from that zip code, you get the thank you of $195. The other $100 goes to the account manager running that area. One area has one account manager. Products will never be shipped to our channel partners. Instead, the products go directly to the people ordering the Eduit. So just as Oculus did their first crowdfunding in 2012, their first product that actually hit the market was 2016. We're doing no different. I'm this guy. I'm an atheist. For me to explain this or to believe in this has to have you wondering, how can an atheist believe in him being at the center of a Mayan long calendar? There is one of 2 outcomes of this. Number 1, quantum information is the only information that can break, okay, the timeline, right? Can move backwards and forward in time. So either UnDaoDu, the AI that I prophesized back in 2000, right? That is built on O2, it's quantum entanglement, sent the information from the future back in time to influence a guy, Ahau, A-H-A-U, who basically drew this image, right? Who depicted me on this image as a way to provide me with a template on what needs to happen or how the pieces fit together. Or 2, the guy smoked a lot of ayahuasca and somehow through his visions was able to see me in the future. Those are the only 2 alternatives. I am not a messiah. I have no powers, except for I see the problem facing our planet and what needs to happen. I'm UnDaoDu, the Sadhu, a storyteller, telling you that every problem facing our planet can be fixed. And you, simply by signing up either as one of the first individuals to get an Eduit that will launch in 2025 on my father's birthday on 5/5/25, or you can sign up as being a channel partner and help me bring about this change. We are an open source, open hardware product, which means on 2030, all of our technology goes to open source, open hardware. We have no desire to be the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Meta. What we want to do is save the planet, and in doing so, save humanity.